This is the story of a brother who found his sister hanging from her bedroom ceiling and a list of names beside her: the bullies, the teacher, the fake friends, everyone who laughed while she broke. They thought she was gone and that would be the end of it. But they forgot one thing. He was still here, and he never forgot a name. The day my sister died, the air tasted like copper, sharp and metallic. I remember standing in the hallway, staring at the closed door to her bedroom. The silence behind it was thicker than anything I'd ever felt. There were no more whispers, no more pencil strokes scratching desperate thoughts onto paper, just quiet, cold and final. Her name was Lily, 16 years old. She used to hum when she brushed her hair, like she was narrating some secret movie only she could see. But that stopped when the rumors started, when the pictures got out, when people who'd never even looked at her started pointing, laughing, whispering like vultures circling a dying deer. Lily was soft, too soft for this world. She didn't fight back. She just folded inward, like a letter never meant to be opened. I found her on a Thursday. I pushed open her bedroom door, expecting to ask if she wanted lunch. Instead, I saw her hanging. Her feet were just barely off the ground. A single tear was frozen on her cheek. There was a note. It wasn't poetic. It wasn't angry. It was just a list of names. Madison Carter, Tyler Reeves, Nicole Palmer, Eli Torres, Mr. Harland, and then, at the bottom, they laughed. I buried her that Saturday. It rained, like the universe knew. I watched as people who never gave a damn lined up with their umbrellas and sad little lies. She was always so sweet. Such a tragedy. One girl actually had the nerve to wear a necklace with a butterfly charm, the same kind she used to mock Lily for. Later that night, they started posting, not condolences, not grief, memes. Rest in pieces. Guess she couldn't take the heat? Should have tried a salad before the rope. They thought it was funny. They thought we'd all move on. That grief is something you get over, like a breakup or a bad grade. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just went into the basement and carved her name into the wall. Lele. The next night, I carved another name. Madison Carter. And that's when the shift happened inside me. Like a switch clicking in the dark. I wasn't grieving anymore. I was accounting. I started researching. Reading old texts. Screenshotting posts. Rewatching the TikToks where they laughed about how psycho she was. I made a list. I memorized it. Not just the names, but the things they did. The way they smiled when she walked by. The way they pretended to be her friend just to humiliate her during lunch. Every slight, every cruel joke, every picture shared. The wall started filling up. Nicole Palmer shared the nudes. Eli Torres started the fake account. Tyler Reeves posted the funeral meme. Mr. Harland told me girls like her always make drama. I wasn't sure how I'd do it, not yet, but I knew it had to be slow, deliberate, no explosions, no screams in the night, just silence. Like the silence I heard outside her door, the silence of a rope creaking. I started with Madison. She worked at a frozen yogurt shop, smiled at customers, wore a pink visor, acted like life was a TikTok dance. One night I walked in. She didn't recognize me, of course. No one ever paid attention to me. I was Lily's older brother, the quiet one, the background blur in school photos. I ordered a cup, strawberry, her favorite flavor. Watched her scoop it. Watched her fingers tap on the register. When she looked away, I slipped the tiny envelope into the tip jar. Inside was a printout of the meme she posted, the one that said, "Too bad suicide isn't contagious." Next morning, she was gone from school. Disappeared. Vanished like smoke. No one could reach her. Not her boyfriend, not her parents, not even her twin sister, who posted a sobbing video asking people to pray for Maddie. I didn't pray. I carved. Madison Carter. The silence in the hallway felt heavier the next day. A few teachers looked nervous, like they knew something but couldn't say it. But most of the kids just scrolled their phones, laughed at something else, moved on like always. That's when I knew it would work, that no one would notice until it was too late. I started sleeping in the basement. It was cool and quiet. The air smelled like cement and old wood, and the walls were mine. I stared at the names each night, my fingertips brushing over the grooves. I wasn't grieving anymore. I was building a memorial, a graveyard. Tyler was next. The golden boy, football captain, self-proclaimed mental health advocate. He posted an Instagram reel with the caption, "We all miss her," even though he once called her an attention-seeking sack of bones, loud enough for the entire hallway to hear. I followed him. Not online, physically. Watched him leave practice, watched the way he drove, where he parked, the gym he used, the password he typed into his locker pad. Then, one night, I left a USB stick in his locker. Inside it were screenshots of his own DMs, the ones he sent to Lily, pretending to be a different guy, convincing her to send photos, promising to keep them just between us. By morning, it was all over school, and by the end of the day, he was gone too. Tyler Revives. No one knew what was happening. No one connected the dots, because no one cared enough to look past their own reflections. That's the thing about people who destroy others. They always assume they're untouchable. I was just getting started. At night, I could almost hear her voice again, not clearly, not in some haunting, ghostly way, just her laughter, the real kind, before the world twisted it, before the walls closed in. I clung to that sound as I carved the next name. Nicole Palmer. She was the worst of them, the puppeteer. She had Lily convinced they were friends, got her to confide in her, and then posted everything online. I didn't give Nicole a warning. I didn't send a message. I just waited until the school's projector system glitched during an assembly and started playing a video, one Nicole had deleted long ago, a FaceTime recording of her mocking Lily's sobs to a group of laughing classmates. Her scream when it played was beautiful, not because of the pain, but because it echoed. The next day, her desk was empty. One by one, the names vanished from roll call, and no one knew why, but I did, and I was far from finished. They started locking the classroom doors during periods. Whispered rumors floated through the hallways like smoke from a fire no one could find. Teachers gave each other looks, and Principal Owens held a meeting telling students to stay safe, report any threats, and take care of one another. I sat in the back of the room and watched Eli Torres chew on his pen like nothing was happening, like his name wasn't on the wall, like he wasn't next. Eli had always been slick, charming when it mattered, cruel when it didn't. He'd made a fake Instagram account pretending to be Lily, posted jokes as if she were laughing at herself. He even used that account to comment on her own photos. Things like, "Desperate much?" and "Bet you won't hang around for long." When she found out, she stopped eating for 3 days. She told Mom she wasn't hungry, but I knew. I always knew. Eli wasn't going to vanish like the others. He needed something louder. So I waited until the school's career week. Eli was part of the audio-visual team. He liked the spotlight, even if he pretended not to. I found the laptop they used for presentations. It wasn't locked. I uploaded a folder, labeled it Future Leaders. Inside were audio clips. His voice, recorded from the old group chat where he and others planned how to humiliate Lily. "Let's get her to cry in the hallway again. That shit goes viral." The sound played halfway through the sophomore assembly. Some kids laughed nervously, a few gasped. Eli froze, his face turned gray, then red, then he ran. He didn't come back the next day. Or the next. Eli Torres. 4 names carved, the blade I used was dulling, my fingertips were raw from pressing into the wall, but I kept going. Added another. Mar Harland. He was the one adult who could have stopped it, the one who dismissed every complaint, every tear. When Lily went to him about the photos, he told her teen girls exaggerate. When Mom scheduled a meeting, he was too busy. When I sat in his office with her journal, the one with the last page written in shaky, broken sentences, he rolled his eyes and said, "Sounds like someone wants attention." I didn't hate him the way I hated the others. I pitied him, because he had power and wasted it. I didn't want him to disappear, not like the students. I wanted him to be remembered for what he really was. So I made copies of the journal, the real one, every page, every sketch, every line about how she wished she could disappear. I highlighted the dates, the margins where she wrote, "He doesn't believe me," and "Why won't anyone stop them?" Then I mailed one copy to the school board, another to the local paper, another to every parent in the PTA directory. Inside each envelope I taped a sticky note that said, "Ask Mr. Harland why she died." He resigned 2 days later, but I didn't carve his name right away. I waited, watched, listened. Then, after his final public statement, where he said he deeply regrets any miscommunication that may have occurred, I went to the wall. Mr. Harland? I started noticing how quiet the house had become. Mom still cried, but only behind doors now. She didn't ask me questions. Maybe she knew something, maybe not. But she stopped trying to fix what was broken. And I didn't cry. I hadn't shed a tear since the night I found Lily. I didn't have tears anymore, just names. And the wall. It was growing crowded. That's when I realized there were more. Not the loud ones, not the obvious ones, the ones who watched, the ones who knew and did nothing. I added a new column. Baby Hill recorded her panic attack. Jacob Mays forwarded the photos. Cruel Sanders liked every cruel post. Trevor Barnes stood by and laughed. They hadn't driven the knife in, but they watched it twist. I followed them too. Not for weeks. Just long enough. Enough to know when Chloe left her car unlocked, when Jacob stayed late in the lab, when Abby always wore the same hoodie with the same pocket full of vape pens. I left reminders. A copy of a DM slipped into Chloe's glove compartment. A printed text conversation pinned to Jacob's windshield. An old photo of Lily crying in the hallway, tucked into Abby's locker with a note. You were there. They didn't vanish. Not all of them. Some broke down in class, some transferred schools, some just stopped showing up. But their silence was louder than anything else, and that was enough. Their names, too, went on the wall. The column grew crooked, uneven, raw. One night, I ran my fingers over every line I'd carved. The ridges felt like bones beneath the skin of the basement, like she was still here, watching. I looked around. There were maybe a dozen names now, and I wasn't finished. Not yet. Because there was one name I kept skipping. Mine. The days got quieter, but not peaceful, more like the pause before a storm. People avoided eye contact at school. The laughter that used to echo through the halls now came in short, nervous bursts, quickly dying out like it wasn't safe to linger in happiness for too long. Not while names were still going missing. It wasn't just the students anymore. Police cars started showing up, parked across the street like they were waiting for something to happen. Nobody had said the word, not out loud, but people were scared. The fear tasted clean, sharp, honest. And I started dreaming again, not about Lily, about the wall. In my dreams, the carvings bled. The letters wept like open wounds. Some nights I woke up with my fingers twitching, like they were still holding the blade. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. Because the last few names weren't like the others. They were the core, the center of the rot. Derek Harlow was one of them. He was never loud, never the kind to post anything himself. But he was the pipeline, the one who spread things, took screenshots, shared them through group chats, made sure even the freshmen saw everything. He ran a Discord server where they ranked girls in the school like animals. Lily was number 4 once, then dropped to unranked after the photos. His handle was Slug Freak. He called it Just Jokes. One night, I joined that server under a different name. No one noticed. I watched their conversations. The same boys still active, like nothing had changed. Like they weren't afraid. So I started messaging them, one by one. I told them I was going to expose them. Not to the school, to their future. College applications, scholarship boards, job recruiters. I found the LinkedIns of Derek's older brother, of his father's small business. I scheduled a post, timed it perfectly. At 9 a.m. sharp on a Monday, an anonymous Medium article appeared, detailing the Discord's entire history, screenshots, dates, handles. The principal called an emergency assembly that afternoon, but Derek didn't show. His father's business page went dark the same night. Someone said he'd moved out of town. No one was sure where. Derek Harlow. I carved his name deeper than the others. Something about him always felt worse. Because he never laughed out loud, he just quietly destroyed. I thought it would get easier. But with each name, it got heavier. Not the carving, the space between them, the pauses, the parts where I stared at the wall too long and forgot whose name came next. Then came the name I hadn't let myself think about in weeks. Avery Quinn. She was Lily's best friend. Or that's what she said. She was the one who first offered Lily a seat at lunch freshman year, called her Lils, braided her hair in gym. They had sleepovers and took Polaroids with glitter filters. And then Avery started dating Tyler. After that, everything changed. She stopped replying to Lily's texts, started walking ahead of her in the halls, told people that Lily got too clingy, and when the photos leaked, Avery didn't defend her. She told people she warned Lily about being desperate. She pretended she didn't know who posted them, but I'd seen the text Lily wrote in her journal. Avery told me I should be flattered, that it meant I was finally noticed. I waited outside Avery's dance practice one night. Her mom picked her up in a white SUV at 6:12 p.m. like clockwork. I followed them to their house, parked 2 blocks down, watched her silhouette move through the kitchen window. I left her a letter, slipped into the mailbox, no stamp, just her name. Inside was a printout of every photo she took with Lily. On the back, I wrote one sentence. You left her behind and watched her burn. She didn't disappear, not fully, but she quit dance, deleted all her socials, and her locker was cleared out 2 days later. Some said she transferred, others said she had a breakdown. Either way, she was gone. Avery Quinn. That night, I sat in front of the wall longer than usual. My knees hurt, my eyes burned, the carvings stretched out like ribs. Like something breathing. I had 3 names left, but only one kept whispering in the dark. Mine. I'd never said it out loud, never written it on the wall, but it was there, hovering at the edge, because part of me knew I wasn't innocent. I was her brother. I saw it happening, and I didn't stop it. I told myself I was protecting her, that I didn't want to make things worse, that if I said something, they'd only double down. But I was silent, and silence, I'd learned, is just another kind of weapon. So I sat with the blade, I turned it in my hand, and I carved, but not my name, not yet. Instead, I added someone I'd tried to forget. Coach Danner. He wasn't a teacher, just a wrestling coach, but he was the one who said Lily didn't belong in the weight room, that girls like her were just there for attention. He'd laughed when she dropped a barbell during practice, laughed loud enough that she quit the team the next day. He wasn't there when we buried her, but he posted about it. Another soul gone too soon. Let's do better. I left a USB drive on his windshield. Audio from that practice, his voice clear as day. If you want sympathy, go cry in the girls' room. 3 days later, he was fired for inappropriate behavior. Ghost Danner. I didn't smile. didn't feel victorious. I just carved. Then came the second to last name. Megan Calloway, the therapist. The one my mom begged Lily to see after the breakdown. The one who said we all feel alone sometimes and you should focus on the good things. Lily told her she was scared, that the messages never stopped, that she wanted to disappear. Megan told her to try journaling. She never reported anything. Didn't even ask to see the screenshots. I scheduled an appointment, faked a referral, sat across from her on the same brown couch Lily had cried into. I asked her, "What do you say to girls who think dying is the only way out?" She smiled gently and said, "We all have pain, but we learn to move through it." I stood up, left a folder on her desk. Inside were pages from Lily's journal, highlighted, dated, the final entry. The look on Megan's face was the only honest thing I'd ever seen from her. Megan Calloway. I carved it that night. And then there was only one name left. Mine. The blade sat in my palm like it belonged there. Every night, every name, every groove carved into the wall had led to this. But my hand wouldn't move. The basement was quiet. Not silent like that night outside Lily's room. This quiet was different, heavy, humming. The wall in front of me was no longer just wood and stone. It was a mausoleum, each name a ghost, each letter a scream no one heard when it mattered. And the last one was mine. Not because I'd posted memes, not because I'd shared photos or made jokes, but because I was there and I did nothing. She had knocked on my bedroom door 3 nights before she died, asked if she could sleep on the floor, said she felt too full of noise. I told her I had homework. I didn't even look up from my laptop. I remembered her walking away, quietly, no anger, no tears, just a kind of resignation I didn't understand until much too late. So yes, my name belonged here too. I pressed the tip of the blade to the wall. Slowly, carefully, I carved. Benjamin Hart. The name looked foreign at first, like it belonged to someone else. But it didn't. It was mine. After that, I stood in front of the wall for a long time. My fingers were raw, my arms ached, but the weight inside me, the one that had grown heavier with each vanishing name, started to shift. Not lift, just move, like something finally making room for breath. Upstairs, the house creaked. Mom's footsteps passed down the hallway. A door closed gently. No questions, no goodnights. I cleaned the blade and tucked it back into the drawer, where it had lived for the past 4 months. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I went into Lily's room. I hadn't been inside since the funeral. Mom left it untouched, like a shrine no one dared disturb. Her clothes still hung in the closet. The sketchbooks were stacked neatly on the desk. Her bed was made, tightly, like someone expected her to come home. I sat on the floor, back against her dresser, looked at the posters on her walls, bands she used to hum along to, a quote in marker she'd written above her mirror. Kindness is quiet strength. It hit me all at once. Not guilt, not rage, but the understanding that she never wanted revenge. She just wanted it to stop. She wanted someone, anyone, to make it stop. And no one did. I closed my eyes and whispered, "I'm sorry." Not like an apology, like a vow. The next day, I made copies of everything. Photos, screenshots, logs. I labeled them, dated them, and put them in manila folders, one for each name. I wrote a letter, too. Just one. Not to the police, not to the school board, to Mom. I told her what I did, I told her why. I didn't justify it, I didn't ask for forgiveness, I just wrote the truth. I left it on the kitchen table and walked out the front door. I didn't know where I was going, I didn't pack a bag, I just walked. By the time the sun started to rise, I had reached the edge of town. I turned around once, not to look back, just to see if the sky looked different. It didn't. It was pale and empty, a blank page. And that was enough. The next week, the news spread. Not about me, about the wall. About the names, the letters, the journal entries, the missing students, the teacher resignations, the truth finally unearthed, in sharp lines carved by a grieving hand. Some parents called for an investigation, others demanded arrests, but no one laughed anymore. The school board tried to clean it up, paint over the carvings, but every time they did, someone scraped them back, with keys, with coins, with fingernails. The wall became a symbol, not of vengeance, of witness. And slowly, painfully, the silence began to speak. Memorials were held. A bench was placed in the courtyard. And every spring, a girl with a butterfly charm around her neck came by and left wildflowers on the front steps. No notes, no words, just a gesture. Somewhere, far away, I watched the world try to do better. I didn't return. I didn't need to. My ledger was closed, not because justice had been served, but because the silence was broken, and my sister's name was no longer followed by laughter. It was followed by silence, the good kind.